Hi friends. Let's talk a little bit about summer reading. I know that sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get your kids to read during the summer, especially in this day and age we live in with iPads and computer games. There's so much technology in their faces that sometimes getting them to slow down with a book is like torture. But there are ways to make it fun. There are ways to make it effective because studies have found that kids that don't read over the summer lose about 3 months of what they've gained during the school year. And for some kids, that's a pretty big deal. For others, you're like, meh, my kid's already ahead. But you want your kid to be the best they can be, right? So let's talk a little bit about ways to make it a little more effective. I am taking all of my tips and suggestions from a study by Harvard Associate Professor of Education, James Kim. He had some great little nuggets of knowledge, but I'm going to spill 4 at you. The first thing that we need to do to make summer reading more effective is pretty much the no-brainer part. Make sure your kids have access to books. The quickest and easiest way is just to make sure you have them in the house, so you buy them. I know that sometimes that's not always an option in everyone's budget. Now, Usborne has some really awesome options that are $4.99, $5.99, super cheap. We have collections where you can buy a whole collection and the kid can take the whole summer to read it. And so, it can be a little more price effective that way if you can find a cheap source to go to get books. But if you can't, the next best thing would be to make a weekly trip to the library and teach your kid a little bit about responsibility. I think most libraries, the age for a library card is either 5 or 8, depending on the library you go to. So I remember being 5 years old and going with my kindergarten class to get my first library card and how exciting it was. So make a big deal out of it. Take your kids to the library, get them their own library card, show them some responsibility, and make them be responsible for the books that they check out. And if they have late fees, make sure that they're doing chores in the house to work those off. Whatever you need to do, just make it exciting for them to get access to those books. Number 2, the best success comes from kids that have a little bit of guidance in their reading. And that doesn't mean you need to be a helicopter parent and, circle around them as they're reading a book. No, you don't need to do that. It can be as simple as walking in, noticing they're reading a book and saying, hey, what are you reading about? And letting them recount to you the 4 or 5 whatever pages they've just read. And it could seriously only take 2 or 3 minutes. And if you're like washing the dishes or whatever, you've got time to listen, right? And the best part about this is this actually increases their comprehension skills for all of their subjects because they are forced to think back about what they were just doing. The other awesome thing is the studies have shown that it does not have to be a parent or an adult that does this. It could be a sibling that walks in and says, hey, tell me about what you're reading. So encourage your kids to talk to each other about their books. The best way to do that is to make sure they're all getting books at the same time, right? Number 3, know your child's reading level and make sure that they're picking stuff that fits within that reading level. And I know that sometimes that's easier said than done because some teachers are not so great about sharing where your child is reading level and comprehension level wise. So Professor Kim actually gives a really good idea, and that is to take 100 words in a book, pull out the book and have them read for 100 words. And every time they come across the word that they cannot read by themselves or sound out by themselves, then have them hold up a finger. And if they get to 5 fingers in that 100 words, it means the book is too hard and you need to put it back and find something else. For your little ones that can't read yet, it's as simple as just making sure that you're finding stuff that appeals to them and that you're reading to them and finding ways to teach them so that they can gain those skills. Our number 4 way kind of segues into that. You need to make sure that the books are exciting for your kids. You need to let them pick. And I know that sometimes that can be hard because sometimes they want to read something that's above their reading level. But that's where it comes in to know how to redirect your child's focus and say, you know what, I know you really want to read that, but I think that this would be just as good and it has a similar storyline. And that's where having someone like a librarian or an Usborne consultant can come in handy because we can kind of help direct you and direct your focus. I think that in the end, no matter how you're getting books in your kids' hands, I feel like I win. And I feel like it will make your summer easier and better if your kids have stuff to do. And we all win if they're doing stuff that helps them to settle into the next school year a lot easier. So take those 4 suggestions, 4 of them, and let's see how you do with them. I'm going to give you some more tips later on, and hopefully we can make this summer a little less scary for everyone.